loud. Share screen. What did I do? Wait a second. I'm not doing. I started it. It should be.
Your co-host is doing it.
I don't know that I can do the waiting room.
Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
Boy,
Oh.
we're going to
Much
get in
better
trouble.
picture.
There we go. Okay, slideshow. From the beginning. Morning, sports fans.
Yay, Warriors.
It is Wednesday. What a surprise. February 24th. Michael, can you do the waiting room?
I don't see it. You could make me host and I could.
Okay, I will make you host. There you go. Technology, I forgot to unclick the little box about waiting room when I set up the next series of meetings. So here we are. Again, Wednesday morning on a beautiful day. Thank you to Dan Needham for being our greeter this morning. He was there bright and early. And Michael McLaughlin, do you have a pledge for us?
Hands over your heart. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to the flag
of
the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And Jerry, I chose this picture in honor of your trip to visit the gorillas in Uganda. And I thought you probably saw some contemplative gorillas while you were there.
I absolutely did. Very good. Thank you. Well, since this is the last week of Black History Month, I chose somebody as an example of somebody who's done an amazing job and being recognized more and more. Frederick Douglass, according to a famous president that we had. Anyway, Frederick Douglass's quote is, "It is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men."
Ooh.
Very good. Very true. Very true. This past week, Rotary International came out with their statement. There is no place within Rotary for racism, homophobia, transphobia, sexism, classism, or ageism. And, you know, I remember late last spring, when with the whole thing with Black Lives Matter and the whole issues. And I think it took Rotary a few months, but then that's the process. But there is apparently, and I saw it briefly, but I haven't looked for it lately, a longer statement. Basically. So, yep, here we are.
Are they selling that cup?
I don't know. I think it's really cool.
It is. It's
It
beautiful.
really is. It would be great. I don't know.
Is this the,
I'll see what I can find out. I'll use good old Dr. Google Rotary Rainbow Cup.
We can get some of those and put them up for sale in our auction too.
Absolutely. So, Joe, I
So,
thought we
Barbara.
needed to have a singing cat today because we certainly sound so wonderful in the mornings.
We do. We're keeping, it's good for bird control in the vineyards,
When I have a cat over there asleep and we start singing, they wake up.
That's good. That's good, I guess. And you don't have to walk them, so what the heck?
Nope, that's right.
All right. It is quite a beautiful morning, I think. Bruce and Helene, the sun is out in beautiful sparks today. Well,
Probably.
I didn't get, I failed my lip reading course.
He has
All
to
right.
go look out the window.
Well, he's in the basement, isn't he?
They don't have a basement.
Oh, okay. Anyway, here we go. There's a bright golden haze on the meadow.
There's a bright golden haze on the meadow. The corn is as high as an elephant's
And it
Looks
looks
like
like
it's
it's
climbing
climbing
clear up
to
to
the
the
sky.
sky.
Oh,
Oh,
what
what
a
a beautiful
morning.
morning.
Oh,
Oh,
what
what
a
a
beautiful
beautiful day.
day. I
I
got
got
a
a
beautiful
beautiful
feeling.
feeling.
Everything's
Everything's
coming
coming my
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 way.
way.
Woohoo!
My cat
Delivers
ran
our
away.
What happened?
reputation.
What happened?
So I don't see any cyber, well, we do have our two cyber Rotarians. We have Bruce and Helene, of course.
Thank you.
Well, it's really hard for you to be cyber Rotarians rather than members. And I don't think we have any cyber guests that I've seen come in.
Yeah, I must have Jameson today.
Nope, we're just all the same. So Wave, good morning, everybody. It's good to see you. And I shall do my mute all. Oh, I can't mute everybody now.
My
Well, Brooke, you're
Yay.
the host, so you're the one who has to mute everybody.
Can
So
you mute
let's all
yourself?
talk.
Yeah, so
Everybody.
the host muted everybody, including me. So I'm back. Okay, I haven't seen Al this morning. Is he with us? I don't think so. Well, he has a birthday on Friday. No, tomorrow. So we shall wish him a happy birthday next week. And John and Terry Belletto have a wedding anniversary on Saturday. I don't see John here this morning. I see Tawny, but I don't see John. But I did Tawny, I did send an email to John and tell him that you are a program today. So, but we do have a couple of Rotary anniversaries. So, Michael McLaughlin, February 24th, today is your Rotary anniversary.
Yes.
And what would you like to tell us about your Rotary aha moments, or what really makes Rotary work for you?
There are just are too many aha moments over the last 20 or 21 years, whatever it is now. It's just the camaraderie and feeling like I belong to part of the community. For a long time, I commuted and I wasn't part of the community. And now I am, and I'm very, very grateful for it. So thank you all.
You're welcome. We're glad you're with us. And is Judy with us this morning?
She had a doctor's appointment.
Ah, okay. Well, it's her Rotary anniversary. We'll catch her next week. So here's what's going on, folks. Tomorrow night is the Cloverdale non-crab feed. I sent the flyer out with the Zoom information, and it should be fun and interesting. How many times have you heard about a 88-year-old car going from Beijing to Paris? I mean, really. So please join us. Bring your own crab or whatever else you want. Then a lot of clubs are doing raffles, and the Petaluma Rotary Club is doing a raffle. Santa Rosa Sunrise is doing a raffle. Go to their websites and find out how you can buy tickets. You can't buy them online because it's illegal, as I learned from Tawny. So think about supporting the other clubs by buying tickets. And then March 5th, of course, is First Friday. You'll be hearing more about that. I'll send an invite out probably later this morning. Then March 17th, we've got another work day at the food bank. March 20th, drive-through crab feed, Roanoke Park, Katati. If you're on Facebook or if you go to their website, they have the cutest crab video ever. So it's really a hoot. And if I knew I could do it, I'd show it to you. But well, anyway, go to their website. It's absolutely cute. And they have a crab feed. Sally Tomatoes, of course, is doing the catering. Other than that, announcements. So last week, there was a work day at the food bank. We had Joe and Patty, Michael McLaughlin, PJ, and Chris. And Michael, do you want to say something about doing the days at the food bank? What were you bagging? It looks like oranges.
Yeah, we were bagging oranges. Oranges are just a little bit better than carrots to bag, but potatoes and onions are the gold spot there. But we had a good group show up, and we packed a lot of oranges. So it is all very socially distanced. Big thanks to Patty for coming out and helping. Other spouses are certainly invited for the one coming up on the 17th of March.
Thank you. And you sent the link out to everybody.
I sent the link out to you and Jim.
Oh, well then, let's see. Okay, then we need to send it out to everybody. I'll find it and send it out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And Michael Cook, did you want to say something about the fundraising committee, auction plans? Are you meeting today? What's going on there?
Well, we're in the throes of setting up an online auction site, and Bill Sauber's helping to catalog the wine that we have available, and Lori Darling has given me information on the items so far. We're looking for kind of fun items because it's not going to be just limited to the price range that we normally associate with a silent auction. So it can be higher ticket items. And there's a couple of ideas that we had last year for the live auction that might be amenable, and I'll be approaching the donors for that. So we're in the auction collection phase. And of course, telling your friends and family that it's going to be there when we roll out the announcement, which should be like next week. We'll have something up that people can look at and start planning. And the date of the auction is to start on March 29th and go to April 10th.
Super. And are you meeting today after the meeting?
Yes, that's the plan, 8:45. So we get a little 15-minute break.
Okay, so if you want to attend the meeting, please just stay on this meeting and you will be there. So thank you. So Diana Curtis. I know she's there somewhere.
Unmute. Yeah, we've had really good news about polio and the lack of it, put it that way. Doing very well. You have it up here. One new case of wild polio virus in 2021. That is just fantastic. And thank you to all the Rotarians who donate. And it's wonderful. Very happy.
Yep. This is huge. This is huge. And the other part is that there's only one new case of the circulating vaccine-derived polio this year, where there were 12 last year. That's another one that's huge. So yeah. Thank you to all the boots on the ground who are going out and doing the vaccinating, because it's not easy and it's not always safe.
That's for sure. Thank you again.
What is wild polio or wild case?
Wild is the wild virus. And then there's some, because most of the vaccine is a dead virus. That's the circulating vaccine-derived polio. Sometimes people can get it from the dead virus. Don't ask me how. I'm not a doctor. Google it.
I have a quick question too. Since they started doing the vaccinations how many polio cases were there around the world approximately? I like to always throw that out because it's such a awesome thing that Rotary is taking on this, project. So I just always like to quote, how many cases they were originally to one last year.
When we started in 1987, there were over 350,000 cases a year.
That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's why I believe Rotary can change the world and take on this problem we're facing around pollution. So that's really the most inspiring thing of all, I think.
Yep,
Yeah,
absolutely.
and I understand that this started with just one man in the Philippines, I believe, that wanted to get rid of polio from his country. And it spread through Rotary worldwide, which is fantastic. One person can begin something like this through Rotary.
That's correct, Diana. And Dr. Benny Santos was a speaker at our conference in 2003. And he is the gentleman that decided that if Rotary could come up with the money for the vaccine, he could get the boots on the ground to get everybody and all the kids in the Philippines vaccinated. And it did go from there.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, everybody. So the week in review. Let's see, who can guess who this is?
Old crew cut.
Yeah.
Terry Kelly.
Yeah. So unmute Terry.
Sorry about that. That
There
took
you
much
go.
longer than it should have taken.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm not sure where that was taken. It may have been on the East Coast. The room doesn't look tremendously familiar. That was my mother, and her birthday was February 22nd, George Washington's birthday. So that's why I posted that this week.
Yes. Well, I thought that was just, you are doing the twist, right?
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
1961 probably. We went back to Connecticut probably every other summer.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's my grandmother in the blue over her mother over in the blue over her shoulder.
Yeah. No, I just thought this is the cutest picture ever. Almost, but pretty cute. So thank you for posting it.
You bet.
And then David, Mark Raymond, you were up early this morning, and I know you talked about this a little bit before the meeting, but you want to say something for the rest of us?
I was so worked up, I had to share that Paula Fortes, our first exchange student from Chile, got married to her fiance this morning at a civil ceremony. At this moment, on my phone, on mute for the phone, I'm watching a Chilean wedding reception, which is quite gorgeous too. Look at her, how happy. This is, Paula was with us in the year 2000. So she worked on building her career as a medical doctor and now has time for marriage and she hopes maybe family.
Woohoo! You'll get to eventually go down and visit your surrogate grandchildren. Woohoo!
I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. Yeah. No, she's great. She was up here. Those of you who remember, she's was up here and helped us make tamales a little over a year ago. So no, she's great. Thank you. Glad you got up early. And then Darlene, I know, sorry I have to take you away from work, but there was a great article in the Press Democrat about your dog.
And a video too.
Yes.
And they did a video too.
Yeah.
And that's yesterday's picture, huh?
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Girls are in the back.
But I don't see the St. Bernard this time. Bummer.
Not all dogs go every day.
I know.
Yeah. Yeah. My girls go every day because otherwise they drive me crazy working from home.
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're too hyper.
Right. Well, I found it so interesting there. when they talk about the dogs in the pack and how as a pack, they just adopt to the pack behavior, because I've always, marveled at how they're all so good when they're sitting there for their picture.
Yeah, because they don't do that with me.
Nope.
They're car aggressive with me. They bark at people with me. They pull on their leash with me. But they're more territorial here at the house.
Yeah, absolutely. They are a territorial animal. Well,
They love their walkers.
Yep.
The cats are laughing at them.
Yeah, my cat's in charge of the house too.
Always. Well, I'm not sure how many, if everybody read the article, but it was really a fabulous article.
Yeah.
And speaking of, and I didn't do it, but speaking of fabulous articles, there was also a fabulous article about the Adopt a Road program, Bill Sauber and Chris Brocade. Bill, if you want to unmute yourself.
Yeah, they did a nice write-up on that. It mentioned our club and Chris and I, and Chris's efforts to be cleaning up rivers, and it mentioned John and his support for the program, and we were, the pilot that got it going. So yeah, it was a nice article.
Good. And our club is going to be adopting a road, and we're in discussing which road to adopt. And I think what we need to do, Chris and Bill and PJ and anybody else, is kind of have a short meeting at some point to talk about what road to adopt. If that's okay with you guys.
Yeah, I'd like to get going on that as soon as possible.
Okie dokie. Yep.
Me too.
And I also sent out, because Bill Sauber sent the county's brochure and the agreement to me, I sent that out to all the Rotary Club presidents in Sonoma County with a suggestion that this is something that clubs can do that's inexpensive and just takes volunteer time, because the county provides the grabbers, trash bags, safety vests, trash pickup afterwards. So it's really, really something that's easy to do. You make a twice-a-year commitment, quarterly if you can. So woohoo, getting there, folks. So do we have any happy bucks? We've got a few minutes. If anybody has anything happy they want to share with us. I know a lot of us are happy because we're in the process of getting our shots, and some of them have even have 2 shots.
Well, I'm happy. I'll put in some happy bucks because a group of Rotarians around the district are getting together to foster a project in Nepal. It's a wash project in the westernmost region of Nepal, and that acronym stands for water and hygiene and sanitation. So that should kick off by the end of this Rotary year. So it's great to pull together Rotarians that want to get something done. And there's a half a dozen of us in this district, and we're reaching out around the world to make this happen. So we're off to a good start. It's worth $50.
Goody, thank you. Anybody else? Oh, come on. Somebody has to have something happy. I know Jerry's going out and photographing birds, which he's always happy about, and posts the best pictures on Facebook.
Okay, I actually saw from a great distance, and I got a little tiny photo of a golden eagle that I sent to a friend of mine who could identify, and he said, "Yes, sir, you saw a golden eagle." And so I'm going back out today. I will contribute some happy bucks for today. In good luck that I will find another golden eagle, actually a nest today. That would be really good.
Super. Thank you.
And I don't need to send it to our PO box, but everybody else, PO box 2481 95473.
Yep, thank you.
I've got,
Anybody else have anything happy?
I, David, do.
Okey-dokey.
I'm happy about two things. You know about Paula, so there's something for that. But in addition, there was a new milestone for Susan's mother, Betty, who remains fairly incapacitated from a stroke that she had in 2019. Yesterday, for the first time, she was able to just blow her nose. Think of how simple and important things are. She's not been able to control that, but she closed her mouth and she blew her nose and was satisfied with that progress.
It's the little things we have to treasure. Thank you. Well, in that case.
I got one.
Uh-oh.
Can you see me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Baseball has started at Annalee again after
Yay.
being off since last year. So they're just starting to practice. They're not allowed to hit yet, but they can throw it. And it's weird. They have these little stages they're going, but they just started practicing this last week. And I'm excited for my son.
Super.
And he's the catcher?
Yeah, he's actually the starting catcher. And first last spring, suddenly right at the beginning of the season, they had to shut down, and they're just starting up now.
Thank you. That's great. Now, do they don't wear masks when they're playing, right? But they have to wear them whenever they're off the field.
I don't know yet. They haven't started playing games. They've been conditioning, and my wife says they're definitely wearing masks.
Catchers always wear a mask.
Right.
This is true.
Okay, so Michael Fells, who is lucky number 24 for the lottery ticket.
That's Brian Bauer.
Brian Bauer. Okay, Brian, I'm writing your name.
Willie Mays, Brian, very good.
So we shall do it now. We're a couple minutes early, but hopefully Tawny is ready. And I have the pleasure of introducing Tawny. Many years ago, I made Tawny's acquaintance because we both worked in the same building. Now, since that time, she's gone on to go to there we go. Anyway, fair management. She went to fair management school and worked in fair management, came back and managed the Sonoma Marin Fair for many years, and then moved up to the Sonoma County Fair. But before that, Tawny is from a very old farm family here in Sonoma County, and worked in 4-H and FFA, working with her parents and siblings on the small family farm where she still lives with her husband. She's the executive director of the Sonoma County Farm Bureau, joining in 2017 after the 30-year career. And I'm reading her bio. She's a member of the Sonoma County Ag and Open Space District Advisory Committee, a past president and current member of the Petaluma Rotary Club. She joined Rotary in Petaluma in 1999, and treasurer for the Petaluma Rotary Foundation, member of the Sonoma Marin Cattlemen's Association, the California Women for Agriculture. She's a 1987 graduate of the Western Fairs Association Management Training Program. She still does event management and has her degree from UC Davis. So in 2006, Tawny received the Spirit of Sonoma County Award from the Sonoma County Farm Bureau. And as a testament to her leadership in 2020, the Sonoma County Farm Bureau received the Distinguished Award of County of the Year from the California Farm Bureau. So without further ado, welcome, Tawny.
Well, thank you guys, and I'm so excited to be here. I feel like I'm with family, and hopefully You guys can see the screen. Okay, my presentation. So thank you. I have to say, I really do appreciate your members. I often see you guys commenting on some of our stuff from Farm Bureau and personal stuff and everything like that. So it's great to be here. And it's unfortunate we can't meet in person. I'm sure you hear this from every speaker because it's so much different being on Zoom than being in the room with you, having shared sometimes a meal with you guys, and actually getting an opportunity to kind of exchange information back and forth. So my presentation today is kind of set up for the idea that there would be a little bit of back and forth. So of course, if anybody wants to unmute themselves as we go through, that would be great. There's just kind of some questions and answers kind of stuff through the presentation. And if not, I'll eventually answer the questions. So first, and I think probably the thing that might be of most interest right now, of course, is related to agriculture and the pandemic and what's happening here locally and things like that. But I'll give you kind of an overview of Farm Bureau, what we do, an overview of agriculture in general in the United States and California and locally. And then try to leave a lot of time for questions and answers because Sonoma County agriculture is a huge topic. And so you might have questions that I don't even cover in my presentation. And I love hearing what our community is interested in. So I think we all enjoy the wonderful food grown here in Sonoma County. So we'd love to talk about it. So just to give you an idea, Farm Bureau is a national organization. There's actually 6 million members in Farm Bureau across the United States. Then within the county farm bureaus, there's 2,800 of us, of course, in California. Pretty much there's one in every county. There's a few counties that share one Farm Bureau organization. We are, even though we have probably one of the smaller amounts of acreage dedicated to farming. When you look at some of the Valley farm bureaus, we do have 1,800 members, which puts us like in the top 7 as far as Farm Bureau membership in California. So, so just a couple things, just so you know, agriculture, of course, is the leading industry, one of the leading industries in Sonoma County. Very exciting. In 2018. We surpassed the billion mile mark. And so we're at a $1.1 billion annual crop value. 2019's crop report has been delayed because of COVID. There had been high hopes there's a belief that 2019 will actually probably even surpass 2018. Of course, 2020 is going to be more of a challenge. California agriculture, big industry. We have about a $54 billion industry in California, and there's about 76,000 farms or ranches. Unfortunately, nationwide, statewide, and even countywide, we're seeing a decrease in the number of farms and ranches, unfortunately. This is something I really enjoy. California, of course, is #1 in the country for producing food and agriculture products. And the real cool thing, I mean, people always think of Missouri being this great ag state, but just an FYI, if Sonoma County was thrown into the mix of the state totals, we would actually be 12th in the nation compared and actually beat Missouri, who would be 13th as far as the overall value of crop products. So a couple of things. Often people think that farming and agriculture is all corporate farms. It's not. 99% of the farms are owned by families. Now, granted, there's some big families out there, but it is still family farming. There's about 2.1 million farmers or farms in America. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you want to look at it, the average age of a farmer in the United States is 61 years old. So we really need to do a lot of work on getting a younger generation interested in farming and taking over some of our farms. So one farmer feeds 165 people a year. And so I think when you think about that and you think about how much food goes onto your table every night for dinner, that's pretty amazing, I think. And then the one thing that's great is that we do have a very strong export program in the United States, but we still export more than we import in food products. And so that's great too. I think that's one thing we're going to talk about a little bit later about the pandemic, but there's a kind of this new realization about how important having food available, whether it's in the United States, in the state, or in the county is. And so we do have the ability, you know, to keep our citizens fed. So, so that's a good thing. What kind of goes back to this conversation about the aging farmer and kind of a reluctancy to get into farming is that in 1980, the farmer got 31 cents out of every dollar spent on food. And that has decreased drastically to only 15 cents. So really hard, you know, challenging times like we've seen here, especially in Sonoma County, just makes it harder and harder for people to want to step up and become farmers and take over some of more of our older farming operations. The other thing is based on population increases, we actually, as a world, need to grow 70% more food to feed what is expected to be the 2050 population. And that's only going to happen through advances in technology. One thing you'll hear me talk about later is the need for more broadband to allow for precision agriculture. So there really does need to be, and you know, Rotary is always going to be at the forefront of these kinds of things. And so I love the programs and the projects I know our club participates in internationally with all the different programs to teach people how to farm and how to feed their own communities. And it's going to be even more important as we move through life. So here's the thing, this is kind of the question and answer thing, but I just wanted to see if you guys have unmute your mics, if anybody wants to jump in here. When you look at the state stats, like 1 to 57 or whatever it is, where does Sonoma County stand in apple production as far as a county goes? Anyone want to take a guess?
Second.
How do you, yes, you're right. See, I would be throwing you a prize right now. So yes, we are second.
Right. Well, it's because the next slide shows up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that. Well, yeah, I didn't even realize that. So are you guys seeing just one big, you guys see one big thing, but then you can see the other slide too. I had no idea. Well,
Yes.
There we go.
there we go. Well, yeah. So, yes. So,
Now we can't see any of them.
yeah, now you're seeing way too much, huh? So,
Now,
Let's go back in.
yeah.
Run those slides.
There we go. And thank goodness for Sebastopol for this particular stat and Manzana, because without the processing facility we have in Sebastopol, it would be likely that we would lose a lot of our apples. And so that's one thing we're spending a lot of time on right now at Sonoma County Farm Bureau is a huge conversation about processing with our, and I'll talk about it a little bit later, but with our state leaders and everything like that. So poultry and eggs, oh, now it's not doing it. Let me see. You have to do that. There we go. Fourth, grape production. I mean, I bet you a lot of you would have thought we were first, but actually we're fifth. Sheep and goats, which whoever thought that would even hit the stats, is seventh. We used to be a huge sheep industry here in Sonoma County, but unfortunately, our sheep production has really taken a hit, really around predators. With a lot more coyotes, and now we're seeing a lot more mountain lions and things like that. It's just difficult for our farmers to really be able to make it work. Sheep's not necessarily a high price commodity either. So, so we've seen many of our sheep farmers go into more cattle and things like that. And then horses, you know, we have like 30,000 horses in Sonoma County. And granted, you know, you don't always think of that as obviously from a standpoint of ag and food, but it is a big part of the agriculture industry. And we have a number of different types of horse ranches and farms here in Sonoma County. So my slides are getting all messed up now for some reason. Oh, I know, because let's see. There we go. 59% of our ag production comes from wine grapes. And unfortunately, we don't have the 2019 crop report yet, though. But in 2018, the fastest growing crop was nursery products. And I bet you that catches some of you guys by surprise. It definitely caught me by surprise. But we do have a very strong nursery product program here in Sonoma County. And another industry that is really kind of top of the list as far as growing is bees and honey and apiaries, and really from a standpoint of being pollinators. They're very important, obviously, for a lot of our other crops. And so there's a big increase in apiary production here. The other thing we're seeing a comeback on, which is funny, because I grew up picking prunes. That's really why I went to college. And we're never going to probably see prunes come back, but you often see crops kind of fade in and fade out. So especially in Sebastopol, we're seeing an increase in citrus products, and then also throughout Sonoma County, an increase in hops. Especially as we see more and more of our microbreweries kind of come onto play. I don't know if you know, but hops was a huge crop in Sonoma County, like in the 50s, 60s, something like that, 40s, 50s, 60s. And it was wiped out by a virus in Sonoma County and actually California. So it kind of unfortunately probably would have hung on if it didn't have such a challenge from a standpoint of production. And so it's great to see that come back, because much of the hops that we use in California comes from Australia and Canada. So hopefully there'll be kind of a resurgence of that industry. So let's talk about let's see, there we go. Oh, so sorry about this. It's almost, here we go. So some threats and challenges for agriculture. And I probably am a little rude on how I report this one, but consumer ignorance, there's just there's a huge population out there who thinks ag and farming is bad, and our farmers, purposely do everything they can to ruin the environment and treat their employees terrible and all of that kind of stuff. And one thing that we have kind of been ground zero for in Sonoma County is the animal rights activists. We've earned that opportunity because the biggest national animal activist program is in their international headquarters is in Berkeley. And so they find it very easy to drive up here and cause grief to our farmers. I'm sure you've heard about it over the last couple of years. I have to say, they visited us in 2019. They visited us, I think, 9 or 10 times. And but they have some pending felony charges against several of them. And so in 2020, we only saw them like once or twice. So my fellow counties, my other farm bureaus are getting to experience the activists in their counties, but they're kind of leaving Sonoma County alone, I think, right now. Now we'll see what happens after these cases actually finally make it through the court process. So there are a few of them who have felony charges in other states as well. So they could end up with a 3-strike situation. But as you know, they hit our duck farms, they've hit our egg farms, they've hit our dairies. So that, that's really caused havoc in a lot of different ways. And, this belief that, farmers are causing everything to do with our climate change. In a lot of ways, our farmers are probably going to be the people who can bring good success to climate change and some of the better practices we can follow. And many of them in Sonoma County, Sonoma County has got a lot of farmers who many years ago jumped on the carbon farming, bandwagon, have done a lot with soil amenities, a lot with manure management. So we really are very cutting edge in Sonoma County when it comes to some of those greater, more conservative practices. Another challenge, of course, is labor force. And when I say this, it's really about having enough labor to do the work we need to have done in our farms and everything like that. And the reduction in labor force, or the scarcity of labor force, comes from a couple of different things. Specifically to Sonoma County, because of the rebuild after the wildfires, there's a lot more guys that are needed, the unskilled labor that's needed in construction, and often construction can pay more hourly wages. So we see, kind of a loss there. If you're talking more traditional agriculture, there's a loss to the cannabis industry from a standpoint of a labor force. And the other thing too, unfortunately, there has been a migration of American farmers into Mexico. A lot of farmers have operations in the United States, but also in Mexico. And so that's created a better labor opportunity for the people of Mexico. So they're able to stay in their own country and still work for the larger United States ag businesses. So that has caused a challenge. And so I'm sure you've heard this locally. One thing our grape farmers have gone to is a lot more mechanical harvesting, which, some people say it's okay. It doesn't change the quality of the fruit. Some people, swear against it. I think, you'll find like the Duttons tend to want to stay with the typical traditional, hand-picked grape. Where some of our other farmers have moved on to more of the mechanical harvesting opportunities. And you see that technology really taking hold in all kinds of different industries. Our dairies are much more automated than they used to, and many of our other crops and things that are grown here in Sonoma County. Environment, as I mentioned, we continue to have challenges with in our environment, and making sure we can follow all the regulations and requirements and still do a lot to make sure that we're good stewards of what we have here in Sonoma County. A lot more guys are going into more of the biodynamic farming here, doing things like rotating grazing pastures and really trying to provide a better place for all of us to live. Wildfires, we all know wildfires, and it's unfortunate because I actually just was on a national convention panel last week talking about wildfires, especially as it related to crop insurance. Wildfires, of course, have really interrupted so much of our processing and harvesting and things like that. We're finding that there's kind of some gaps in crop insurance. The whole question around smoke taint was kind of new to the whole world of insuring crops. That the idea that you can't really tell if a grape is damaged, you have to test it and it takes weeks. So that's really what the conversation was last week on this national panel I was on. But what I have to say is that, I'm on this national panel and, we're talking about 40 different crops grown here in Sonoma County. And the other lady on the call or on the Zoom call was talking about like soybeans and corn. And I'm like, oh my gosh, how boring would that be to work just in those two crop industries. Water, I'm sure some of you have been following where we are right now with the groundwater GSA programs and things like that. We definitely have some challenges with the drought that's ahead of us. We really need to figure out ways to make sure that we can have enough water for farming. And especially, one thing that I'm concerned about when it comes to droughts and the shortage of water is that if this continues, then we're going to start seeing some of the crops kind of drop off of our palette here in Sonoma County. And that's unfortunate. I think it's very important for a county to have a very diverse ag portfolio. I mean, when you look at Napa, 99% of their agriculture is in grapes. And so I think that's something we're going to have to continue working together in our industry on, who gets the water, how do we get the water? And it's not just groundwater, as you might have read recently, a lot of our farmers, 70 farmers actually get water through the City of Santa Rosa's Reclaimed Water Project. And they've actually notified all our farmers that they're probably not going to get any of that water this year. Wow. So already we have our farmers starting to sell off cows, changing, what they're planning on doing. The one thing that's going to be a huge challenge for our local dairies, because, we really are very, very much kind of ground zero when it comes to organic dairies. With Clover Sonoma 25 years ago, we kind of became, it was like, oh my gosh, what's this organic milk stuff, and it happened here in Sonoma County. So out of our dairies, we've got about 65, 66 dairies. Only 3 of them is conventional, which means only 3 of them are not organic. But a requirement of continuing being organic is that cows have to be pastured, they have to graze for 110 days. And so that is going to make it really hard for our dairies with a shortage of water to meet that requirement. And so, the other thing, of course, is surface water. A lot of conversations about Potter Valley and the project up there. We see more and more requirements around how we manage water out of the Russian River and how we can, use that for farming. So water, as you might guess, is going to be the #1 thing we need to deal with. Cannabis, right now, I don't know if you follow cannabis, but the county's looking at a cannabis ordinance, a second one. It goes to the Board of Supervisors and sometimes like early April, I believe. And so, cannabis is something that's not recognized as a federal crop. in the United States. California has accepted it as a crop, but Sonoma County Farm Bureau has decided to align with the federal designation, and until it becomes an ag crop, we do not recognize cannabis as an ag member in our organization. However, we do have to recognize cannabis as something that is going to be grown here in Sonoma County. Some of our more traditional farmers are actually looking at cannabis right now just to kind of make that bottom line work better for them, which is good. I think, you know, our county did everything wrong in the beginning when it came to cannabis. Instead of allowing somebody with 1,000 acres to grow 10 acres of cannabis in the center of their property, a lot of people, you know, were limited to 1 acre of cannabis. And so it got to be where there was a bunch of little cannabis operations, right, really kind of in people's residential areas. And I think that's something that has really caused a lot of problems around cannabis. Land costs, I can't tell you how many times we talk to people who either, we have a group in Farm Bureau called our Next Gens, and they're I call them kids. They're young adults who maybe grew up in a farming family, 4th, 5th, 6th generation, but they want to do things differently than mom and dad did. Or they're people who just have a love, think they have a love to be a farmer, and they want to get into farming, but there's no way for them to kind of find that land resource. So we're going to be spending a lot of time over the next couple of years trying to bring kind of some of those traditional farmers together with people who maybe don't have the ability to buy land, but possibly could lease, or there's some sort of a sharecropping relationship or whatever, because we do see, you know, our farmers are getting older. We don't necessarily see the next generation always wanting to step in. And some of that's really about the economics, you know, especially if somebody has 3 or 4 or 5 kids. In the old days, you know, brothers could make it on one dairy. They can't any longer. So, you know, how do you kind of split up those family farms? Which one gets to farm? And the other thing too is that it's a lot of hard work in farming. And I think, you know, the next gens are finding other ways to spend their time than getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to go out and take care of animals. And that's what I just talked about, the generational changes. And then regulatory oversight, just kind of to put it in perspective, there was a study done by Cal Poly, and it looked at the strawberry industry in the Monterey County area over a 10-year period. And I want to say that period was like 2006 to 2017. And that 10-year period showed over a 700% increase in regulatory costs for farming. But, you know, the cost of strawberries didn't change, like it was like a 5% increase over that period. So I think the more and more we see with the costs to meet regulatory requirements increasing, the less likely we're going to see maybe some of those crops that we really depend on. You know, the lower priced crops that are more price takers because there's some sort of a stabilization program, you know, milk, right? I think we're going to continue to see a loss of dairies in our county. Those products that really just have a harder time making it financially, I think we may see some of those things go out, which is totally unfortunate. So, and an overproduction of milk, again, back to our dairy industry. As I mentioned before, we're really proud of our organic dairy industry here in Sonoma County. Unfortunately, other people, other counties, other states kind of saw how well we were doing with our, you know, our kind of added value pricing and associated with organic. So many other dairies now have gotten into the organic market. And there's not a real good job of making sure people comply with those requirements, like the grazing thing I talked about earlier. So we're seeing our very, very small dairies, because Sonoma County, you know, dairy size is very, very small. They're just having to compete with guys in the valley that have 10,000 cows, and our guys have 400 cows. And so there's kind of an overproduction of organic milk. So we're starting to see that organic price fall, and it just is not working for our dairymen here because of their increased costs with the smaller dairies.
Okay, Tani, we have about 2 minutes.
Oh, 2 minutes. Okay, real quick, pandemic. You know, we've had good and bad that's come out of the pandemic. As you know, there was a huge challenge in the beginning of COVID with how do we suddenly switch from creating a 50-gallon thing of milk that goes to the schools to a half pint that we need to get to the families. So big challenges there. I think our local processors totally stepped up and figured out ways to work around that. One thing that I'm excited about, there's a much greater appreciation for farmers now. Supposedly it's an 11% increase in appreciation from farmers nationwide ever since we went through the pandemic. And, you know, just there's so many, there was a need, obviously, to protect the employees in our processing facilities and everything like that. So we saw a reduced production because of the safety protocols that had to go into place. Locally, Farm Bureau, you know, we're doing on-farm testing. We go in and test employees for COVID on farm since they can't always get into a vehicle to make it to a test site. We're running a vaccination program now. In Sonoma County, we've probably got in the neighborhood of 4,000 to 5,000 of our ag workers vaccinated so far. Probably have another 7,000 or 8,000 to go. So I'm going to stop with that and see if there's any questions.
Thank you.
Right.
Questions?
Just real quick, this is Brian Bauer. Thanks so much for working so well with my wife on West County community, the vaccines and everything else.
Oh, yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm glad to hear that.
I have a question.
Mhm.
Is the Farm Bureau still doing financing for people that want to buy ranches? And is there any particular guidelines? Does it have to be zoned ag or in the Williamson Act, or is there, are you guys still doing it for working ranches or bare land, etc.?
Yeah, we've never been a lending institution for land. I would recommend if somebody's looking in Sonoma County, and actually American Ag Credit does lending. They tend to be more crop based though, but American Ag Credit would be somebody to talk to, or, you know, Exchange Bank has a huge ag lending program.
Which
for
one?
land. Exchange Bank.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
So you're not doing any lending at all for big ranches or anything? It's the ag credit?
No, we've never have. There's grants available though through the USDA and also CDFA may have some grants and things like that. So I definitely look to that. You know, Steve Dutton's on the Exchange Bank board, so he can definitely probably, if you know Steve, can help you out as well with where Exchange Bank goes with that. But they're very big into ag lending and crop lending.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Tani, approximately what percentage of the labor force is resident in Sonoma County, and what percentage are migrants?
You know, it's so funny because I think there's this belief that, you know, Sonoma County ag workers are all migrants, right? So just, you know, the H2, I don't know if you're familiar with the H2A program, but the H2A program is a very organized way for, hold on a second, my phone's ringing here. Is a really organized way for farmers to bring migrant workers in, typically from Mexico. And there's, you know, there's contracts and, you know, it's very costly actually for H2A workers. So in Sonoma County, out of our labor force, about 800 of them are H2A workers. Where, you know, I just mentioned we've got about 12,000 people who work directly in ag production and ag processing. So from a standpoint of migrant workers, it's fairly small compared to other areas. Now, one thing we do see during grape harvest is there's contract laborers who come in from other counties and come in and help with harvest. And they often have a big H2A crew.
So would you say about 90% are resident locally?
Yeah, I'd say that's probably about right. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Bonnie, I've got a question.
Sure.
Do you have relationships between farmers and the Redwood Empire Food Bank or such organizations?
Yeah, you know, many of our farmers do gleaning and help, you know, and actually, if you ever get a chance, you should have Dusky come and talk to you a little bit about her gleaning program. But so many of our farmers, you know, take the products that they aren't able, the crops that they're not able to harvest for whatever reason, and allow gleaners to come in. Gleaners come in, take the fruit or vegetables or whatever for free, and then take it on to any sort of the food pantries and everything like that. The real popular one is down in Petaluma, where they do a lot of effort of reaching out to farms, getting the products. The one thing that's difficult is, I mean, we heard about it a lot during the pandemic was, you know, the products that went unpicked or unharvested, but it's tough for a farmer who's already having a tough time making it to pay for that labor to go and pick that vegetables or fruit or, you know, whatever, and then to give it away for free. So that's where the gleaners come in.
Thank you, Tawny. Wonderful subjects. We all like to eat. We all like to drink. And sometimes I wonder, and you have consumer ignorance here. People can be so oblivious as to where their food comes from. And we all have to, I'm sorry, cherish every acre of arable farmland and pasture land, because otherwise, how are we going to eat? So thank you. If you could unshare, please.
Okay, let me just get out of here. All righty. Getting there, sorry.
That's okay. Well,
I usually
will
don't
show
have my,
anyway.
I'm usually not at home. I usually don't have these two, I have two screens and it just is really causing me havoc.
Yeah. So Brian Bauer, here's your lottery ticket, and I'm sorry, you're a loser. Gonna
I
have
don't
to
feel like a loser.
Well, your lottery ticket, your scratcher was a loser. So, okay, I can't remember without my share screen. Who has our way clean joke of the day? Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. I can't remember.
I've got a couple. Barbara, Rod
Okay.
McCall.
Go ahead.
Well, I've got a long one and a short one. And since we're over time, I'll go with the short one. This is from the Scottish comedian Billy Connolly, and it seems rather timely. He asks,
there we go. Go for it.
Discovered we could get milk from cows. And what did he think he was doing at the time?
Okay, short one. Thank you. Then Joe, why don't you take us away?
Here we go. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you.
Keep smiling until then. Happy trails to you till we meet again.
Hasta la vista. Michael Cook, if you can stop recording, please.
Joke?
Since you're host.